And so this one is solve for x. So this is a very basic one that comes forth in previous grades. So if you haven't looked at my previous grades, I think there's in grade 9 there's a video, and grade 10 it's a video with a lot of examples for factorization. So I'm going to go through this one quite fast, but in the other videos I go through it step by step for you to look at it better. Okay, so for this one there's an x squared, so you're gonna have x and x, and then the 6 I'm going to divide into its factors 1 times 6. So let's see if 1 times 6 works. So there's a 6 and a 1. So there you see a plus 5. So if we have and there you see the minus. So if that's a minus, you're going to have either plus there and a minus there, or a minus there and a plus. So because here is a plus, I'm going to put the plus by the bigger one. So let's do that. In plus and a minus gives you a minus. 6 times 1 is 6, and plus 6 minus 1 gives you plus 5. So I'm going to keep it like that. So there's your not your answer yet. So now you're going to say x plus 6 equal to 0, which means x equal minus 6. And then for the second one, x minus 1 equal to 0, and then x is equal to 1. So there's your two answers for x is minus 6 and x equal to 1. If you see solve for x and they give this solve and correct to 2 decimal places, then you already know you're going to use this formula, because you're not going to have full integers. You're going to have an answer with at least a decimal place, or in this case 2 decimal places. So just to identify, here you see a and a b and a c. So just to identify it in front of the x squared, that coefficient there, so that's a plus, so that will be a. And then in front of the x, so this is a minus of a plus 3, that is b, and the constant will be c, which is minus 5. So just a tip, the sign always goes with the number. That's why c is minus 5, b is plus 3, and a is plus 4. So now I'm just going to substitute all of these a, b's, and c's into this formula over here. So for now, I'm going to keep it in the different colors. So let's just put that sign. The bottom is 2 times a. A is equal to 4. On top, you have a minus b. B is, I'm just going to keep it in bracket for now. So that's 3. Keep the plus and a minus until later. And then b squared, that is 3 squared. So it's 3 squared minus 4. A is 4. And 4 times c, c is minus 5. So there you can see I've just substituted everything. Just so again, there's a minus b squared, which is c minus 4 times 4. And I'm just double checking my answer, 2 times a. Okay, so there you have it. So now you can just work it out. Minus 3, keep it like that, plus minus. Inside of the bracket, you have 3 squared, which is 9. 4 times 4, that is 16. 16 times 5, that's 80. And minus and a minus, that will be a plus. Just make this smaller. So there we go. So we have minus 3 plus minus. So 9 plus 80, that's 89. I'm just working it out on my calculator. And then the square root of 89, that's 9.43. So currently you sit with this. So let me just make a block over here. So now you have x equal minus 3. And now we're going to have just the plus 9.43. And then you're also going to have x equals minus 3 and the minus 9.43. It's just the reason why this is not complete yet. I apologize. There's still this part over here, 2 times 4. So let me just wipe this out quickly. So all of this divided by 2 times 4, so that's 8. So that will be minus 3 plus minus square root of 89 divide by 8. So just keep that in mind. Divide by 8. Here we go. So let me just wipe this out again. So the first answer is going to be X. That's why I always double check my answer just to ensure that I'm on the correct path. So the first one, you're going to have X equals minus 3 and then plus. So it's only that plus over there. So that plus, and then square root of 89 is, like I said, 9.43, and all of that divided by 8. That's the first answer. The second one will be minus 3 minus 9.43 divided by 8. So again, you have the minus 3 plus the square root of 89, which is 9.43 divided by 8. And the second one, you have exactly the same, but instead of that plus, now you put that minus over there. Now you can just work it out. So it's 9.43 minus 3 divided by 8. That gives you 0.8. It's going to put it in blue. So that's 0.8. And then the second answer is minus 3 minus 9.43 divided by 8. That is negative 1.55. So there you have the two answers. So you can put the 0 here. Just, you don't need to put the 0 here, but just for completeness, because they've asked for 2 decimals, just for completeness sake, just put it there. And yeah, so that's it. So just again, don't forget about the division over here. So I've included that. And then you just work out the 2 different numbers for X. So just again, if you see this 2 decimals already, you know you are going to use this formula. You've seen where I almost made a mistake. Go through it slowly and ensure that you get to the right answer. Right. So now we sit with some less than sign. So first, if you do this, you have to factorize. So let's first factorize the 4x squared minus 1. Again, you can look at my previous videos, because I'm sure if you matric, you should know how to do this by now. So, but just quickly, there's a square, meaning 2x times 2x is 4x squared. There's a 1, meaning 1 times 1 is equal to 1. And if that is a minus, then that's just a plus and a minus. So that's how you factorize that. So how I would do this is as follows. So here you see, say number 1 times a number 2 times number 2, and that must be less than 0. Now, for 2 numbers to be less than 0, the 1 must be positive and the 1 must be negative, because a plus and a minus will equal a minus. For example, plus 3 times minus 2, plus and a minus is a minus 6. So I would treat this exactly the same. So I would make this 2x plus 1 positive, and then 2x minus 1 I will make negative. And then I know the answer will be negative. So let me just wipe this out. So again, so what I would do, I would say the 2x plus 1, make that positive. So what does it mean? It means 2x plus 1 must be bigger than 0. Because if something is bigger than 0, then it is positive. But at the same time, if that is positive, then I want the other one to be negative. So therefore, the 2x minus 1 must be less than 0. So there you go. 2x minus 1 less than 0, meaning it's negative. And 2x plus 1 greater than 0, it's positive. And the positive and the negative will give you the negative, which is less than 0. So let's work this out. So you do this exactly as if it was an equal sign. So 2x plus 1 is greater than 0. So keep the greater than and move the +1 to the other side. It becomes -1. Then x will be greater than -1/2. So just park that there for now. Let's do the right-hand side. So 2x, take the -1 over, it becomes a +1. Keep the sign the same. X is less than a half. So there you have it, but let's just see how we can arrange it. So this say x is greater than minus a half. X is less than a half. So it looks like you can put x in the middle. Say x is less than a half, but x is greater than minus a half. There's the answers. Again, you see what I've done? Let me just remove. So I kept this the same. X is less than a half, but I flipped this around. So if I would have written it different, I would have said, yeah, I can't write it different. Is x is greater than a half, or if we flip it around, that's what I mean. It would be x is greater than minus a half. So I just flip this part around, then it gives me that. And I can actually see this part is over here. X is greater than minus a half, and on the right hand side is x is less than a half. Here you see a big sum with a lot of square roots. So let me show you how I usually approach this if I am unsure. So you see 2 square roots multiplied by each other equals x. So I usually test it like this. If this was square root 4, example, times, let's say, square root 9. So what's that answer? Square root 4 is 2, square root 9 is 3, so that answer is 6. So, oops. So what I want to do is get rid of the square roots. So if you want to get rid of the square roots, what you do, in this case, you say square root 4 times square root 4, that gives you 4. So square root 9 times square root 9 would be 9. So basically, what I'm saying, each term, I'm going to, it's almost like I'm going to do this, that squared, and then the 6 squared. So that's what I want to do. So let's first test it out. So if I would have said square root 4 times square root 4, that would give me 4. Square root 9 times square root 9 gives me 9. That answer is 36 and is indeed the same as 6 squared. So that is what I'm trying. So let's just use that principle of square root. So what I'm going to say here, to get rid of this square root over here, that one, and the one here on top, if I'm going to that, the answer is just going to be whatever it's inside of the square root, which is 32, square root of 32 plus x times square root of 32 minus x, because you basically did this, all of that to the power 2, and then x to the power 2. So that's basically what we have done. Then we end up with an x squared. So just want to repeat again, to remove that square root and that square root, I took the whole thing to the power 2 on the left of the equal sign, and I did the same on the right of the equal sign. The right is easy, is x squared. Like I showed you earlier, if you do this to the power 2, the answer is just whatever is in the inside of the square root, and the same with that one. So now you have this number. So let's see what's next. So this looks like almost like a quadratic type of equation. Let me just try to explain it again. So this is what I do just for myself. If this was a x plus 1, for example, and an x minus 1, the answer would be x squared minus 1. That's why in the previous sum where we had this, we said that answer is x and x, 1, 1, plus and a minus, because that is a square, x squared, that's a square, 1 squared, and that's a minus. So we can go from this step almost to this step here, meaning the next line, I'm going to just write it in yellow, is going to be square root of 32 times square root of 32, which is only 32, minus x squared equals x squared. So just see what I have done. Just go back to the bottom again. X plus 1, x minus 1. It looks similar to the top. Something plus something, and the same thing minus the other thing. So if you go again, x plus 1, x minus 1, then you just say x times x is x squared, and 1 times 1 is 1, and with a minus in there. So I did the same. Square root of 32 times square root of 32 is only 32. Then x times x is x squared. And because that's a plus and a minus, the answer is going to be a minus. And on the right, I just kept it as plus 32. Just wipe this up. Okay, so now we're there. So now it's just a matter of simplification. 32 equals, take this minus x squared to the right. It becomes plus x squared plus another x squared over there. That becomes 2x squared equals 32. Let's flip it around. So, and divide by 2 as well. So it's going to be x squared equals 16. So x equal plus or minus 4. So it's plus or minus 4. Let's take the plus or minus 4 and let's just decide, is it a plus or is it a minus? So here, if you look at this, here's a square root and a square root, but inside of the square root will be a plus. So if that's a plus times a plus, then the answer will be a plus as well. So I'm just going to say the answer, I'm just going to put it in green here. The final answer is going to be x equal to 4, not minus 4. So again, this one was a bit difficult in the sense there's a lot of square roots, but maybe just go through the video again and just see how I've eliminated the square root. Because if you take a square root, multiply by a square root, the answer is only what's inside of the square root. That's why I got to this. And here I just used, you saw me the method, 32, square root of 32 times 32 is that. X times x is x squared. And from there, I just simplified, got to x squared equals 16. X equals 1, x equal to plus or minus 4, but I've chosen x equal to 4. It would just make more sense in this equation. And also I'm just looking at the answer sheet also, which confirms x is equal to 4. Here you have simultaneous equations. So oops, so let's see what we can do. So the first thing here, I'm just going to say, we're going to make x the subject. So make x equal to 12 minus y. So let's just call that equation 1 for now. So now let's call this one on top here equation 2. So now I'm going to say 1 into 2. That means there I have x, xy equals 14 minus 3x. So wherever I'm going to see x, I'm going to put 12 minus y. So wherever I see x, I put 12 minus y times y equals to 14 minus 3. X is 12 minus y. So I've just substituted, wherever I say x, I put the 12 minus y. So now I just multiply out. 12 times y is 12y minus y squared equals 14 minus 36 plus 3y. Again, you can look at my previous grades. There simultaneous equations where I go into much more detail. Just want to take everything to the right. So it's 14 minus 36 plus 3y plus y squared minus 12y equal to 0. Okay, there's a y squared. I'm just grouping now all the y's. There's a plus 3 minus 12. So that's what's that, minus 9y, and then I have 14 minus 36. What's that? Minus 22. Looks like minus 22. All of that equal to 0. Let's see if we can factorize this. So that's y. 22 is either 22 times 1 or 2 times 11. That looks better. 11 times 2 and a minus and a plus. That looks good. So the answer is y equals 11 or y equals minus 2. Okay, now I'm going to, so let's do this equation 3. So now I'm going to put both of this. Let's start with the y equals to 11. So I'm going to put 3 into 2. Sorry, 3 into 1. So 1 is this equation x equals 12 minus y. This equation over there. So now I'm going to substitute the y equals to 11. So let's see where we get. So wherever I see a y, I put 11. Then that's going to give me 1. And then let's just write it again. X equals to 12 minus y. And I'm going to put this y of minus 2 into this equation. I usually just keep the bracket because I'm dealing with 2 minuses. So that's 12 plus 2 equals 14. So how I would write the answer is answer 1, or option 1 would be x equal to 1. So this is this one here with that y of 11. And y equals to 11. And option 2 would be this, where is it now? This x here of 14. And that goes together with that y of minus 2. So let me just double check the answers. So I'm just looking at the answer sheet now, and it says x equals 14 and y equals minus 2, yes. And x equals to 1 and y equals to 11. Good, both is right. Let me just write this better here. The minus 2 is y equals to minus 2. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Goodbye.